The last camera I ever looked at was the one pointed at me. I was sitting in the security office a little after 3 in the morning, watching the bank of monitors the way I had every night for 2 years, and on the middle screen there I was from behind the back of my own head, my own slumped shoulders in my own chair, and standing behind the chair leaning down toward me, close enough that it should have been breathing on my neck. There was something I could not make myself look away from. I want to tell you about the hallway first, because the hallway is how it got in. For 2 years, the most frightening thing that ever happened on my shift was a raccoon in the loading dock. I worked nights at a shopping mall that had been dying slowly for a decade, the kind of place with more shuttered units than open ones, a fountain they'd drained to save money, a food court where 2 stalls still bothered to roll up their grates in the morning. My job was simple: sit in the security office, watch the cameras, walk a loop every 2 hours, go home at 6. 42 cameras, I knew every one of them by heart. I knew which corridor flickered, which fire door never quite latched, which angle caught the moon through the skylight. I'd taken nights on purpose. I'm not good with people, never have been, and the dying mall suited me. 8 hours were the only faces I saw, were the ones the cameras handed me, and the cameras never wanted anything from me. There was a piece to it that most people wouldn't understand. 42 little lit windows into 42 empty rooms, and me the only living thing in any of them. I used to think that was the loneliest part of the job. I know now it was the one thing that had been keeping me safe, and that the night it stopped being true was the night all of this began. That's why I noticed Camera 6. Camera 6 had always pointed at the East Service Corridor, a short gray hallway, maybe 30 feet, that dead-ended at a supply room. I had walked it 1,000 times. 30 feet, a door at the end. One night in October, Camera 6 showed me a hallway that went on much, much farther than 30 feet. I sat forward in my chair. The picture was the same gray cinder block, the same dead fluorescent hum, but the corridor stretched away into a dark I had never seen down there. No supply door, no end, just length, going back and back past where the building's wall should have been. I pulled up the floor plan. I walked to the east corridor myself, hard going, and stood in it. 30 feet, a door at the end, exactly as it had always been. I went back to the office. On the monitor, Camera 6 still showed the long version, the one that couldn't exist, the one I had just been standing in and hadn't. I told myself the feed was glitching, cross-wired with some other camera, some other building. That's a thing I can tell you now, I knew was a lie even as I thought it. But it let me finish the shift, and finishing the shift was all I wanted. The next night, there was something at the end of the long hallway. Not close, just a shape far down where the dark swallowed the corridor. A tall, thin smudge of a figure, standing still, facing the camera, facing me. I watched it for an hour and it did not move, and somewhere in that hour I stopped being able to pretend it was a glitch. Because glitches do not stand patiently at the end of a hallway that isn't there, waiting to be noticed. I'm going to tell you the thing I should have done. I should have walked out the front doors that night and never gone back. Whatever they docked from my last check would have been the cheapest money I ever spent. Instead, I did what you do when your mind refuses the truth. I came back the next night to prove it wasn't real. It was closer, not by much. A few feet up the impossible hallway. The next night, a few feet more. It never moved while I watched. I never once caught it taking a step, but every night it had gained ground, the way the hour hand gains ground, the way you never see the cold come into a room until you're shivering. Every night, a little nearer to the mouth of Camera 6, a little nearer to the part of the corridor that connected to the part that was real, the part I walked through every 2 hours. I did try to tell someone. I called my supervisor, a tired man named Dale, who picked up on the 6th ring and listened to me describe a hallway that was too long and a figure that wouldn't move. There was a silence on the line when I finished, the particular silence of a man deciding whether you're drunk or just done. He told me to export the clip and email it over in the morning, so I tried. I pulled the footage from Camera 6 and watched it back at my own desk, and on the recording the hallway was 30 feet long, with a supply door at the end, and there was nothing in it. Nothing at all. Whatever was happening only happened live, only happened to me while I watched, in the dark, alone. That was the night I understood nobody was coming, and that I should have been far more frightened by that than I was. By then I'd stopped sleeping in the daytime. I'd lie in bed with the blinds shut and feel the hours crawl and do the arithmetic of 30 feet in 3 seconds. I started showing up to work early. I told myself it was to study the feeds. The truth is, I didn't want to be anywhere that didn't have cameras, because at least the cameras would warn me. That was when the other cameras started to lie. It was small at first. I watched myself on camera 9 push through the food court doors, and then 3 full seconds later I pushed through them. The monitor was ahead of me. It showed me what I was about to do, and then I did it. I tested it, standing in front of the camera, lifting my left hand, and watching the screen lift its left hand a breath before I had decided to. Like the cameras weren't recording the building anymore, like they were recording something a few seconds further along than I was. It got worse the more I let myself notice it. On camera 14, I watched the loading dock doors swing open in an empty frame, and 4 seconds later the wind took the real one and it swung. On camera 2, I saw the lights in the north wing go out, one bank at a time, marching toward the office. On the real fixtures over my head, they began to go out, one bank at a time, marching toward me. I sat very still and watched the future arrive on a 3-second delay, and I could not make myself move, because moving felt like agreeing to it. Some animal part of me had decided that if I stayed still enough, the future on the screens might decide to skip me. If this is crawling on you the way it still crawls on me, there's a new story here every night. Stay with me. You need to know what the cameras were really for, because here's what I finally understood. Sitting in that office with 42 cameras, and one of them showing a hallway out of nowhere. The cameras had never been watching the building. Not really. They were watching the thing in the corridor, showing me where it was, how close, how fast, and the ones that ran ahead of me weren't broken. They were showing me where it was going to be. They were showing me the future of the building, 3 seconds at a time, and in that future the figure was no longer at the end of any hallway. On the last night, camera 6 was empty. The long, impossible corridor stood there, gray and humming, and the figure was gone from it, and for one stupid, flooding moment I let myself feel relief. It had left, it was over. I had imagined the whole thing. I actually laughed, alone, at 3 a.m, in a dead mall. And then the laugh died in my throat, because I understood what an empty hallway meant. For 2 weeks the cameras had been telling me exactly one thing, where it was. As long as I could see the figure standing on camera 6, I knew it was still down the corridor. Still coming, but still there, somewhere I wasn't. An empty hallway didn't mean it had left. It meant it had finished the corridor. It meant the thing the cameras had been tracking for 2 weeks had finally walked out of frame, and there was only one direction left for it to walk. Off the screen, out of the picture, into the one part of the building that the east corridor's camera could no longer see. I didn't want to look at the other monitors. I need you to understand that. Every part of me that still worked was telling me not to look. But you always look. That's the other half of the trick. They make you need to know where it is. Then I looked at the middle monitor. The one wired to the camera in the corner of the security office. The one pointed at me. And there I was, from behind, the back of my own head, my own slumped shoulders. And standing behind my chair, leaning down toward the back of my neck, close enough that it should have been breathing on me, was the tall, thin thing from the end of the hallway. And on the screen, it had a face now, turned down toward mine, and the face was patient, and the face was almost done waiting. The camera was 3 seconds ahead. I had 3 seconds. I want you to understand that I knew exactly what was behind me, and exactly how long I had, because the camera had been good enough to show me. 3 seconds is not enough time to run. It is barely enough time to decide not to turn around. I turned around. I always wonder, on the nights I can still think it all, whether the ones who don't look fare any better. Whether you can sit very still and stare straight ahead and let the 3 seconds pass and feel it lean closer and just not turn. I don't think you can. I think that's the whole trick of it. I think the hallway was always only 30 feet in the long part, the part that went back and back into the dark. That part was the waiting, and we are all of us only ever 30 feet from the end of it. They found my chair the next morning, pushed back from the desk, and all 42 monitors still glowing. And the east corridor exactly 30 feet long, with a supply door at the end, and nothing in it. Nothing at all. There was a new guard within the week. Dale showed him the cameras, the loop, the loading dock that floods, the fire door that won't latch. I know because I watch him learn it. I'm on camera 6 now. I'm the smudge at the far end of a hallway that's longer than it should be, and I don't move while he's looking. And every night I'm a little closer to the part of the corridor that's real. If this one's going to sit on your chest tonight, subscribe. There's a new one here every night. Just don't check the cameras.